The Gina and Matty podcast.
All right, we have taken a step into Gina's Country Corner. It's been a while, but we're here, Gina.
Well, you know that I'm trying to slowly convert country curious people who are listening to come over to country music. And we're doing it naturally because Morgan Wallen's been on here, Luke Combs, there's been a bunch of artists that have really crossed genres and are being played on pop stations. So I'm going to dig a little deeper today, Matty. And this, I think you are going to love this album from Luke Combs. He's a father and son's. Came out last Friday. It's called Father and Sons. For any dad out there who's got a son, or some of these songs could just be for your dad. Luke Combs he's an American country music singer and songwriter, born and raised in North Carolina. Started singing as a kid, moved to Nashville, and we all know him very well from this song.
So I remember when we were driving in your car, speed so fast.
Huge.
Like I was
Yeah.
drunk. City lights lay out before us.
Still, one of my favourite things was him doing this with Tracy Chapman.
Oh, how good was that?
When they
He
did
looked
it
so
together.
nervous, didn't he? He was standing beside a legend. Well,
So good.
10 years before this, he released his first album. So he's a massive star, but we hadn't really heard of him as much in
An
Australia.
overnight success, years in the making.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So his fifth studio album, which came out Friday, just gone, it's called Father and Sons. It's beautiful. It's all about the journey with his two boys. The front cover is with him and his dad. Let's do the names. His dad's name's Chester, and his kids' names are Tex and Bo.
Love that.
How cute. So this song, you're going to love this one, Matty. It's called In Case I Ain't Around, and it's written from the perspective of Luke when he was younger, remembering when his dad would tell him little things and give him life advice he needs to know just in case his dad isn't around anymore. Listen to this.
In case I ain't around when you get older, I just thought I'd tell you now. So down the road you're all good to go through the highs and lows and all life's up and down. Yeah, that way I'm still there for you somehow. In case I ain't around.
Nice.
Isn't that just so, what a beautiful thing to say to your little boy. This one, I love this too, whoever you turn out to be. It's a beautiful song where Luke's telling his sons that no matter who they become or what they decide to do, they don't have to be anything he expects. Whoever they turn out to be, he's going to love them just the
So
same.
what if you don't stick around this little town to raise you? So what if you don't cut your teeth on Junior Jones and Waylon? Now it might work out, but you don't turn out anything like me. But I love whoever you turn out to be.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Look,
I love
my
that.
dad's going to love this. Your dad's going to love this too, Matty. You know when you're a kid or a young man and a young woman, your dad tells you all this life advice and you just roll your eyes and you don't really listen. And then you get to an age when you've got kids of your own, you realise, actually, the old man was right. And that's
Yeah,
what
you
this
start you start saying what he used to say.
Yes.
Gotta come the hard way, but you'll be hell-bent to learn them on your own. It may take your whole life, but I bet in due time, son, you'll find your old man right.
And I think my favourite is this one. It's, you know, when your son is little and he just sees you as the hero. And, you know, you hung the moon and you Superman. This one's called The Man He Sees in Me. And this one makes me cry. You know, from when your kids might be leaving home or when he was driving, still sitting on your knee, you know, around properties. Maybe I'll finally be the man he sees in me one day. Have a listen to this.
I hope he never finds out that I didn't hang the moon, and I'm never scared a monster out the closet in his room. One day between him leaving home and driving on my knee, maybe I'll finally be the man he sees in me.
Oh, this whole album makes me
Oh, wow.
cry. And
What's it called again?
The album is called Father
Yeah.
and Sons,
and Sons.
and it's Luke Combs. And if you're a little country curious, check this out. It's very country, but the message behind for all you dads out there, it's going to make you cry. It certainly made me cry on my first listen.
Gina and Matty.
Gosh, there is some news to get to, and our fabulous newsreader, Suze Thompson, sometimes forgets to bring a phone charger to work, but you know what? She's got other strengths. She's got other strengths, which is delivering the news. But sometimes there is some news that Suze doesn't use, and that's what I'm going to give you now. But I'm pretty sure she did touch on this at the top of 6, but it is big news out of the States. Excuse me. Justin Timberlake has been arrested for drinking while intoxicated. The singer was arrested and taken into custody at Sag Harbor and then appeared in court later that day. Now, cry me a river. Justin Timberlake allegedly swerved to the wrong side of the road twice and refused to take a breathalyzer test 3 times, according to a police report which has emerged following his arrest for drunk driving. Hey Siri, play Britney Spears' Toxic. The 43-year-old was taken into custody after the incident in the ritzy Hamptons area of Long Island in the New York State early on Tuesday morning. He was held overnight in a cell at East Hampton Police Station, 160 k's east of New York, and then released later on Tuesday morning without bail following a court appearance where he was charged with 1 count of DWI, which is what the DUI, which they call it here, drinking while intoxicated. Now, Timberlake was reportedly handcuffed on his journey from the police station to the courthouse. US network NBC has cited a criminal complaint written by a Sag Harbor police officer that said Timberlake was pulled over at 12:17 a.m. on Tuesday after his BMW rolled through a stop sign and then twice went onto the wrong side of the road. Now, this is almost my favourite part of the story. The officer was so young, he didn't recognise Timberlake even when the Star told him his name, it reported the New York Post. Now, once he was pulled over, according to NBC, the officer observed that Timberlake was operating said vehicle in an intoxicated condition and that his eyes were bloodshot and glassy and a strong odour of an alcoholic beverage was coming from his breath and was unable to divide his attention. He had slowed speech and was unsteady afoot when they performed poorly on all standardised field sobriety tests. So that's where they get them out of the car and try and make them walk in a straight line. Touch your nose if you can.
Bump, that one.
yeah. Oh, we saw him dancing last year. I'll tell you what.
He'd be
it
very
looked like,
good at that.
Oh, I don't know. I saw some pretty ordinary dad dancing from Justin Timberlake online about a year ago. He said he had 1 martini and followed his friends home. The complainant said that 3 times the police tried to give him to do a random breath test. He said no over a period of 40 minutes, and the whole encounter was recorded on body cam. So,
Justin!
We'll watch that play out. But seriously, as someone whose wife was almost killed by a drunk driver, mate, you got that much money, get an Uber, get a limo, have a plan B. Not good enough. Inside Out 2, let's go to some happy news. Inside Out 2, the animated film by Pixar, grossed $155 million in the US and Canada, surpassing Dune Part 2 as 2024's top opening weekend film. It has smashed box office records globally. It is now the biggest opening weekend ever for an animated film, with $295 million being spent over that weekend going to see that.
Have you seen it yet, Matty?
No, not that one. I went and saw... I saw the first one, which is fantastic.
Yes.
This one, so it's all about the emotions Inside Out. So it's about, and the girl who was in the first one is now a teenager, so there's new emotions.
Whole new lot of emotions.
I think anxiety plays a big part in this one.
Embarrassment's in there.
Yeah. Travel stiffies, I don't know if that's in there or not, but I'll tell you what, that comes when you're what? No. Shane with the Y knows exactly what I'm talking about. All right, let's move on just quickly. The Australian Taxation Office has revealed the highest paying jobs in Australia. And I tell you what, if you are looking to get paid well, these are the jobs that you need to be getting into. Surgeon tops the list at $460,000 on average a year. Also on the list, psychiatrist, mining engineer. Executive radio producer in Sydney has also made the list. Now we know why she's leaving us. Loz, breakfast is on you for the rest of the week.
Gina and Matty.
I'm going to talk about chivalry in a second, whether or not chivalry is dead or chivalry is now classed as sexist. But he was doing a bit of a junket press tour with his director of his latest movie. And this is what the director of that movie had to say about Henry Cavill. Have a listen to this.
Henry Cavill stands up whenever a lady walks into a room. And he's been consistent with that all the way through. I made 2 movies with him, and I'm in a room with him all the time when I'm making those movies. and you have never failed to stand up when a lady walks in the room.
Yeah,
I
right.
love that too.
I
Right.
love that.
And I heard that, and I went, that's old school.
Yeah.
There's something about that I really
It's
like as well.
gentleman.
My dad does that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes.
But in the comment section, which the internet is a cesspool of people who have an opinion, and it was divided on whether or not standing up when a woman walks into a room is something that people should still be doing in 2024, or because is it classed as sexist? Because why are you treating women any differently to treating men? Why wouldn't you stand up if a man walked into a room, and why is it only standing up if a woman walks into a room? Because chivalry was sort of this thing that was done in the ye olden days when women were classed as damsels in distress, and you needed to open doors for them because they were too weak to open their own doors,
Oh, do you think
and that's
that's
why men.
why? Because they
Well,
were weak?
That's where it
Well,
comes from.
That's
I
where it
think
comes
it's
from.
a
That's
sign
where
of-
chivalry comes from.
But I think it's a sign of respect.
I
We were never too
kind of-
weak to open a door.
I understand both, but that is where it comes from. That women were deemed too weak or
Yeah.
couldn't do it or it was too much for them kind of thing. That's where it stems from.
Yeah.
So not the best
That's-
origin story, but
No, but the same thing as offering a seat to a woman on a train or a bus is
Yeah.
because they can't possibly stand because they need to sit down.
they'll faint.
Yeah. So I'm curious as to whether or not for both of you, whether or not you enjoy a little bit of chivalry or you have sort of turned your nose at it lately. Because my thing is I'll if I'm going through a doorway, I'll always open the door, and then if I'm walking with a female, I'll open the door and I won't go through that doorway first. That's just something that's I don't know whether it must be my old man because
Except for
it's
every
something
time
that's
we
just
come in here.
well, it's because I'm first in the studio. You're still in the kitchen.
You're in a hurry.
That's right. But
Did you just say that?
No, not in the kitchen cooking me breakfast, Dale. In the kitchen making her own smoothies. But then someone else, a friend of mine, says, "Well, that's a bit creepy." And I said, "Why do you think it's a bit creepy?" Then she goes, "Well, are you looking at my ass?" And I'm like, "Well, no, it's not that. No. But she's got a boss who does that." And I'm like, it makes her feel uncomfortable that her boss opens the door and then ushers her through first because she's like, "Why is he doing that? Like, why just open the door and walk in, mate? I don't need you to open the door for me. I can open my own door and I can walk myself."
Yeah, I get that, but I think it's a respect for women. I've taught my son, he will always open a door for me, and if we're in a lift, for instance, he will let me or any woman out first before, and it's just respectful. He'll open the door for my mum, getting into a car, and then he'll close it for her, and he'll escort her into. But she's a bit more frail because she's a little older. But
Yeah, I think
love-
disability, age, and maybe pregnancy are sort of those ones
separate.
are separate. Yeah.
Jackie opens doors for me, and our son is super respectful with me, and he's kind of a bit more old school, and I absolutely love that. Just yesterday I had something happen when I went earlier. I was telling you a story about the fire pit. I went and bought firewood from a service station, and the guy who was there, I was the only person in there. Was two men working there. Gave me the key, said, "Oh, the key's a bit tricky," and I bought 2 bags of firewood, and it was really heavy. He could have come out and helped me get it to my car. He probably had other stuff to do, but it was not busy. I thought it would have been quite nice of him because it was very heavy and very difficult to get out, and I had to walk it back to my car. I would have liked that. Then I went to Bunnings and bought the fire pit, and the guy in Bunnings carried it up and he said, "Where's your car?" And he brought it out to my car as well. And I'm like, I like that. I think it's respectful. I love chivalry. I'm all for it. But I do understand the whole open the door and you think they're checking out your bum. That's uncomfortable.
I've never really thought of it like that before until you said that. I understand. I can see both sides of the coin where I go, I am perfectly capable to open a door. I can do these kind of things. But there is some kind of like old school nostalgia, like that chivalry of like standing up when a woman comes in, or if, for example, like Matty, you do that. You go ladies first and you go after us, and I would never once think that you're checking me out. It's just like you have respect for me and you know that that's polite. But I do see both sides, and I think now in where we're heading as like society, I'm not surprised that people are starting to take a step back and look at it a little bit deeper. I suppose it's all about how deep you get into it. I choose not to deep dive it too much. Whereas if someone like Henry Cavill stood up every time I came into the room, I'd be like, absolutely, Henry, please keep standing. But I know Zendaya.
If someone, or you go, keep
Well,
going. Yeah,
Zendaya will never get help walking upstairs or anything like that. Like when she's at the Oscars, there's like 5 different times she's in like these big gowns and stuff like that, and a man will always rush, like be there to like help her try and get up the stairs because people always fall up those stairs.
Yeah.
And she'll never ever take their hand.
Yeah.
She'll be like, no, I can do it myself. But I was like, in that kind of circumstance, I'm like, I actually would probably need a hand because otherwise I probably would fall down.
Because you're in high heels.
I'm in high
and
heels.
You're in a
I'm
tight
clumsy
dress.
as it is. I'm already nervous.
Yeah.
What
Like,
about if you're carrying something and someone offers to carry it for you, like in that example, but you're more than willing to carry it, Gina, then
Yes.
a man offers, I'll carry this for you. Can I carry it? You're like, oh no, I got it. Is he asking that
if I
because he
wouldn't-
thinks you can't carry it, or is it more of a, I'll carry it for you so you don't have to carry it?
I wouldn't like someone who I don't know to offer to carry my bag. But if we're at my husband always says when you're packing, you make it light enough that you can lift it yourself if you have to. But Rod's very chivalrous. But I noticed Jackie and a young artist that he works with, she's always got very heavy bags. She will, and she's tiny. She will not let him lift that bag. I'm like, Jackie, lift that bag. And she's like, no, I've got it.
Yeah.
She's 19. So I get it. But look, I guess we have to agree to disagree on a lot of it, and women want equal rights and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where the line is a little blurred because we want equal pay and that whole thing.
Absolutely.
And then on the other hand, I want a man to stand up when I enter the room and open the door for me, but I'm not going to do that for him.
It's like that blurred line between equality and polite respect, kind of thing. It's like, where do you draw the line? If I want all these things, which I do 100%.
Yes.
I'm 1,000% for women always. But then if I'm being treated respectfully, I do like that too. So I'm like, am I just contradicting myself?
Yeah, because if you were going on a date, for instance,
Yeah.
and he stood up for you when you walked into the restaurant, opened the door for you, paid the bill,
Pulled
opened
out
the
your
door.
chair as well.
Yeah.
Pulled out your
Pulled your
chair when you
chair.
sat down. Would you want that? Would you want someone to pull out your chair
I
for
would
you?
think that is really kind, and I would feel like a bit like flattered and special and being like,
that's
oh my God, this never happens.
And that's a green flag. But if he didn't do any of that, is that a red flag for you in the dating world?
No, it's not a red flag. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so.
Would be for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think if, I'd be like, oh, yeah, fair enough. We should be equal. I'm all good with it. But then if they did it, I'd be like, I appreciate this.
Okay.
Right, well, we can get this conversation going. If you want to get involved, you can get it on the socials, at Gina and Matty on Facebook and Instagram. Just letting you know, I am standing. It's just that I'm short. It looks like I'm sitting. I'm standing for you ladies in the room, okay?
The Gina and Matty Podcast.
For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.